Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics with your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Hope you're having a great day. We are going to talk about Yuga just dropped some big news about Other Deed, got some really fun art sales, a bit of a market overview. Let's get right into it. ETH volume's down a fair bit versus yesterday. Most of the volume on Blur, 74%. Not as quite as high as Blur market share has been, but still quite high. I wanted to look at this unique buyer chart because I think it's kind of interesting. You can see that basically ever since the Silicon Valley Bank news, we've just been at a lower level for unique buyers per day. That pink line is kind of the average of where we were before. That purple line is where we are now. So unique buyers down a fair bit over this past week or so. I call it the once were large cap index because a lot of these projects are no longer large caps, but the way I make this index is looking at the big projects of early 2022, ones that hit a 10 ETH floor price or higher. And you can see that this index actually did have a little bit of a rise yesterday. The reason for that was that Koda was very strong. Also the main, the largest components in the index, Punk, Suzuki, Bored Apes, all were up a fair bit. The projects that have been weak though, Cool Cats, Invisible Friends, V-Friends, Moonbirds, Pudgies, all had continued weakness. In terms of mid caps, the index was pretty much flat yesterday. A lot of strength in Goblin Town, a kid called Beast, while there was weakness in the Jack Butcher ecosystem, weakness in VV Checks, weakness in Opepin. Those were both up a fair bit yesterday. I've talked about this before. When things go up yesterday, they often go down today. That's just kind of the way NFTs work these days. One thing I like to look at is, are traders making money? So this chart here looks at the profits and losses of people who close trades that they put on within the past 14 days. And what you can see is, for 2.5 weeks or so, we've been negative almost every day. But yesterday actually had an up day. And I think that was largely because of Other Deed, where we had a huge rally and it was the most highly traded project on Blur, or really across NFTs. So we'll dig into that a little bit shortly. Now, this chart here looks at the overall cumulative profit and loss of traders basically since Blur Season 2 began. The reason I start there is because that's when trading was already high, but it was really at Season 2 when people got dropped all that Blur. It became clear that Blur was a way to make money through their incentive program, and trading really picked up. What you can see here is that you had about a week of strong returns for traders, but it's really been straight negative ever since then, despite, a little bit of an uptick yesterday. In terms of art projects, not a ton of volume here. Only 3 projects did 10 ETH of volume or more. I did want to touch on a few sales here. One that was not highlighted in the previous chart because it was a bit of an OTC trade, but this 80 ETH Fidenza sale, a mono color pattern for Fidenza. 80 ETH, I'll show you in a second, was a really low price for this. Maybe because it was done a little bit over auction. It was curated who bought it, but that's a really good buy. This Chromie Squiggle sold for 9.34 ETH. Squiggles, the floor is 10 ETH right now, but a lot of where the transactions are happening is in the 9s. This one for 15 ETH, that's an elevated deconstruction. Now, elevated deconstructions really started trading up, and I'll show you some of those prices. And the reason for that is it is the Season 1 Artblocks curated project that has the lowest supply. So people who wanted a full Artblocks curated set, or people who wanted a Season 1 full set, had to get one of these, and there was the least supply there. Those traded really well. It traded down to 15 ETH yesterday, and the Subscape traded at 6.2 ETH. That's well below the Subscape floor price right now, about 8.5. So I think what we're seeing is there just aren't a ton of buyers for a lot of these Artblocks projects. So people who want liquidity have to accept some of these ETH bids that are below the market price. Looking back at that Fidenza, these are the last 3 mono sales. Again, that last one sold for 80 ETH. These are the last 3 that came before. One for 164, 152, 130. If you want to find a mono that traded at the price where this one is, you have to go almost back a year and a half. So this was really kind of a pretty inexpensive price for that Fidenza. As far as prior elevated deconstruction sales, again, this is just a highly coveted NFT because of the low supply. The last sales have all been between 35 and 60 ETH. So this 15 ETH price was a very good deal for that. Second thing to talk about, Yuga updates. Here's the tweet. They just announced yesterday they're introducing this 2D experience called the Legends of Mara. Yuga just is, they have a big team and they're constantly working, constantly thinking of ways to surprise the market. And here's something, Other Deeds, I think that full 3D game is a ways away. And here's something that they're doing to reward their holders, to give them something to do to kind of make those plots make sense. So really interesting stuff here. A little bit about what this whole game is. Other Deed holders are going to get a new NFT, and that NFT is called a vessel. Each vessel has one of 3 things it can do. It can either hunt, farm, or enchant We don't know what that means yet. We'll learn over time. The game is going to start in May, and it also is giving value to Kodas. Kodas are on about 10% of the other deeds. We haven't really known what they do, but now you're going to be able to separate your Koda from the plot of land and give it its own value. The Kodas are going to be able to do those same things, hunt, farm, and enchant, just at higher form, higher skills. Who knows? We'll see. This is what the vessels look like. Again, you got Enchanter, Farmer, Hunter, all there. They also talked about Catalysts, which are coming this summer, and the lore got a little too intense for me. Go check out their website, but there's something about Catalysts. Who knows what it is? Something that converts I'm not even going to take a guess. There's more coming. I don't know what to tell you. There's just a lot here as far as the lore goes. In terms of how did the market react, the prices liked it. Other deed, the price went from 1.3 to 1.7, saw a huge move there. Kodas, this chart here looks at the Koda history, and you can see that relative to where we've been, the floor price for Kodas actually didn't jump all that much, but you did see a slight jump in Kodas. And then weapon Kodas, they said that weapons are going to have separate value. They've always traded at about 30% premium to Kodas, and weapon Kodas again saw a bit of a rally. So all interesting stuff, all cool to see. Yuga again at the forefront here of just continuing to innovate with this lore and build out their ecosystem. I think that anticipation and intrigue win. Right now you have anticipation. People don't know what these vessels are going to be, so you have a few weeks. If it is a buy the rumor, sell the news case, like we're now a little bit in the rumor stage where you're trying to figure out what these are going to be, so I think that tends to be pretty positive. And two is simplicity wins. And I think they saw this with this game. Dookie Dash, what they did was a very simple game. It was a game that people said was modeled after something from 15 years ago, but people got addicted to it and really hooked. So this idea of doing something 2D, a little bit simple, kind of goes against what I was saying about all these different factors that are making it complex. But a 2D game, I don't know, maybe that's going to allow more people to play. We'll see how it goes. A lot of mystery, a lot of uncertainty here, as always with Yuga, but they tend to do that pretty well. I also wanted to mention Gucci, because Gucci did a partnership with Yuga. I thought that was kind of interesting. Here's the image that was dropped. This was part of, this kind of combines Bored Apes, Other Deed, Gucci all into one. Gucci tweeted about this from their main account. Thought that was really cool. They're open to their core customers. Yes, we are in Web3. We're partnering with Yuga. I thought that was cool that they did that from their main account. They said they're continuing to explore the metaverse. The house comes together with Yuga Labs. Stay tuned as a new narrative takes shape, blurring the boundaries between the physical and the digital. They say that details are still very scarce about what this partnership is going to look like, but they did say that someone from Gucci said that Gucci will play an active role in Other Side as well as 10KTF's continuing narrative. So we'll see how this plays out. I think it's always good when top brands come into the space and kind of have the right footing. So let's see how that goes. Last thing to talk about, a few notable sales. The first, we talked about this yesterday. I'm talking about Nakamigos again. I don't own a single Nakamigo, but I think they're kind of fun. I think it's cool. This one trait, this ghost, sold for 16 ETH. Crazy sale. Why do I call it crazy? Because before this sale, the top sale was 3.69 ETH. This is 4 times the second highest sale. I remember when I saw that bot one trade sold for 3.69, I thought that's kind of weird because the bot trait, or the bot type has 3% of supply, whereas the ghost is much smaller. So I thought it was kind of bizarre that you didn't have the ghost as the top sale. Well, now you do, and it's 4.5 times the prior highest sale. This was, Utes. We've talked about this yesterday. Utes coming over to Polygon. This was the highest Ute sale on Polygon. They get priced in ETH, sold for 2.33 ETH. The floor price right now, I believe, is around 1.9 ETH on OpenSea. So that is, call it, 160 Solana, up a bit. We talked yesterday. It went from 170 halfway before this announcement all the way down to 130 after the announcement. So seeing the floor on OpenSea, at least at 160, that's a pretty, that's not that bad of a price for Utes. Couple one-of-one art sales by artists on Super. I wanted to talk about this piece called Ride a Rollercoaster by Roma Broslavskiy. By Roma Broslavskiy. Roma, I'm sorry that I didn't pronounce that right at first. Roma Broslavskiy sold for 8 ETH. On this piece, he has all sorts of narrative about the idea of video games and people and violence and what we want to be all rolled into this. I'd go check out the description to get a better feel of what he's going for with this piece. Biggest super rare sale of the past day. In terms of this artist, he's from the Ukraine. His Twitter profile says he does tattoos and digital and canvas, so a man of many talents. Looking at his prior top sales, he had one sale at 15 ETH on Super Rare. These other 3 were on Foundation and a little while ago from 2 to 2.5 ETH. So it really feels like with this 80 sale, that prior 15 ETH sale, he stepped into another level of sales prices. So very much congratulations to him and congratulations to the buyer on supporting this artist and getting this cool piece of work. Here are the 2 pieces again from Super Rare. And the last sale I wanted to talk about is this piece called Wake Up Call by Brooke Di Donato, and it sold for 4.5 ETH. Kind of an interesting piece. And I'm not going to lie, I started digging into Brooke's work, and I just find her work awesome. It was so fun to dig into her, to read her interviews, to learn about her as an artist. Really cool stuff. Here are some of her other top sales, some really kind of interesting sales and interesting art across the board. One of the cool quotes from her interviews, people say, and one of the terms that's used is surreal art in the look she does. She says, when I look at my work, I actually don't feel like it is surreal because it's all based in reality. Everything is sort of familiar, and it's almost a distortion of the familiar. So there's not anything particularly fantastical about it, other than maybe the narrative that's playing out or the position of the subject in the context of that reality. And it's just like, so it's just normal things that just kind of bend our idea of reality a little bit, has a really kind of clean and cool feel to it in all its photography. Here are some of her other pieces. I'd really recommend going to her website. Just a ton of cool work there, really cool stuff. So congrats to her. Congrats to the buyer on this piece. That's all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, give us a like below. Tell us what you think in the comments. Anything you want us to talk about, anything we're missing. I know there's a lot going on in NFTs that we do miss. Feel free to tell us below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And we'll be back tomorrow and every weekday with another show. Thanks a lot and have a great day.